leaders that are making a huge difference in the world. And I'm honored every day to get to work with Mikhail and Bill and Jason, and hopefully have a small part to play in the much bigger challenges we face as a civilization.
Well, let's get right to it. There's a common thread. The reason we brought all four of you together on here, and especially the three that are running these individual companies, is that you're all CEO founders that have a unique level of technological expertise that you bring to the table. You're not just the CEO. And you have visions that are extraordinary. It's not just how do I build a business and sell a bunch of widgets, it's how do I change the world. Lots of people say that, but you are all in stages in your company where it's no longer a vision. You're starting to maximize and make that happen. So I'd like to start by asking each of you one at a time, can you tell me just a brief aspect of how the story of your company, how it came about, and what's unique about your company? What are you really trying to build today through this company? And I think we'll start with you, Bill, because, just to remind everybody, Bill's a guy that's built 150 companies, right? These are companies across every area you can imagine, different industries. And Bill, you've seen so much of these last 24 years since you started, your Idea Labs format. Tell me, there are three companies. We'll talk about some in the depth. I know you want to talk about Heliogen, but if I may, there's three companies that you have evolved that all have to do with changing the environment, right? And the environment there is, one of the challenges we have, most of you know, is that today, solar and wind are actually cheaper than petroleum for the first time in history, but there isn't the storage capacity. So I'm wondering if you might talk a little about the storage company, and then secondly about Heliogen and what it's providing. And then thirdly, just a little bit about carbon capture. I know maybe just an overview of how you came to be in this position and what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Well, thank you, Tony. I really feel that what you said earlier is maybe the most important thing on Earth right now, which is help the planet in every way possible. You talked about lifting people out of poverty, lifting 1 billion people out of poverty. I think that the number one thing that can lift people out of poverty is low-cost energy. Low-cost energy is what has made civilization possible. And the challenge has been, we've been getting our low-cost energy by burning things. If we can get our low-cost energy in a renewable way, then we can really have unlimited amounts of it and not cause any harm. Yeah. So I got very passionate about all the side benefits that would happen if I could focus my mechanical engineering talent on the energy problem. And I'm thinking about it from a standpoint of just making the world better, not even worrying about the benefits on climate change, or you don't even have to believe in climate change to believe in just giving people a better life. Yes. And energy can give that to people. So I feel like if you look across all the United Nations development goals to give people freedom and security and education, all the things, energy is behind every one of them. So I feel like there's a lot of leverage there. So that got me excited about making low-cost solar energy that could be around the clock, low-cost materials that could be made from the sun, so cheap, better concrete, better steel, better aluminum, that could be made with concentrated sunshine. And then, as you said, energy storage, because we can now make energy for the first time ever, cheaper than fossil fuels, but it only comes when the sun is shining or where the wind is blowing. So yes. If we can hold on to that energy till when we need it, like after the sun goes down, or to have it on demand. So making cheap energy storage turns out to be very, very hard. Like batteries are very, very challenging to make them cheap enough on a bulk scale. Batteries are now cheap enough to be used in cars. Well, first they were cheap enough to be used in our devices. That was easy. Yeah. Then cars, that was next challenging. But to make batteries cheap enough to power the entire grid, that's really hard. So I started looking at other ideas, other ways to store energy, and we came up with this gravity method that is Energy Vault.
And if you might mention, we'll go in depth later on, but Energy Vault, explain to them how simple it is and how you came up with the concept, you and the team, the idea of the most effective way of getting energy in the past, at least the least destructive has been, as I understand it, when you're using hydropower. Tell them what a simple idea it is and let them know how big it's grown, like the size of orders you're getting now for this simple solution that can allow us to have energy 24/7 from the sun.
Well, most of the energy in the world today is used as it's made, meaning 99% of every electron made by every generator in the world gets used as it's made, and only 1% is stored. But that 1% is currently stored by pumping water up a hill. Basically, you look around the earth for a mountain where there's a reservoir on the top and a reservoir on the bottom. You fill the thing with water on the bottom. When you have excess energy, like when the generators are producing power that people don't need, you pump water up the mountain to the top and you sit in that reservoir. When you want to get it back, you let the water flow back down, turn a turbine the other direction, make electricity, and you get 90% of it back or 80% of it back because of friction losses. Well, The problem is that's relatively effective, but all those mountains are used up. Everywhere where there's a reservoir up there and a reservoir down there, someone's bought that and turned it into what's called pumped hydro power, where you pump it up and then get it back.
Basically a dam. That you're using a dam like they do in Vegas, right? That's basically what we're talking about.
Exactly. So the only way to get a new location for pumped hydro is to build a dam in a valley, but then you destroy that area because now you've stopped the river from flowing to get your mountain of water. So we were trying to figure out a way, how could you simulate that, but without destroying any land and without needing a mountain? So we were trying to look for ways. Well, what about if we built our own mountain? Like, what about if we made a big mound of dirt? Or what about if we made a big column of cement and filled it with water and pumped the water up inside the column and had it come down to a pool? And what about if we made we tried all these ideas, but they were all too expensive. And that's the reason why no one's done it. They were too expensive. But then the idea occurred to us of making blocks and stacking them. So effectively, we build a mountain every day by stacking up the blocks and unstacking them. We'd have a crane lift them up automatically. Since it's going to be running continuously, you can't have a crane operator there. So you have to write software to make it all work autonomously. We had to use cameras to locate the blocks, clever stacking sequence. But effectively, by stacking a bunch of 35-ton blocks, they're big blocks, 35-ton blocks, they're 1 meter by 2 meters by 4 meters tall, you can build a 25-story building each day with extra energy, and then unbuild it each night when you need the power back. And it's actually cheaper than pumped hydro. And you can put it anywhere because you don't need a mountain, because effectively we're making a mountain every day.
So for people to understand, imagine a crane where you're using solar power, and that energy that you have available in the day, the crane lifts these giant blocks, and then at night it releases them, and that churns the turbo just like you would if you actually had, an entire dam, and you have that electricity available to you, and the efficiency is cheaper than any other source you've got. And what kind of response have you gotten from the marketplace in this so
It was
far?
incredible. First, people said we were nuts. In other words, it was a crazy idea. But a lot of good ideas start out like that. Like a breakthrough is a crazy idea up until it crosses over. That's actually a great line from Peter Diamandis. What you want to find is something in technology that can solve a big problem, but that does seem a little bit crazy until you prove the science of it. So we built the first prototype to show that it worked. We built a full-scale version to show that that really worked and delivered the economics and efficiency. And each unit stores 35 megawatt hours, which is like enough for a whole city. And each one of those units costs about $8 million. And we got orders for 1,200 of them. So $10 billion of demand for that system, like in no time. So it really is amazing how much global demand there is for energy storage. Really, really.
You can do this in the desert. You can do this anywhere. That's the beauty of this. The power of it is the elegance, how simple